All right, live look at our Storm Smart Sky Cam tonight. This is from the Cape Coral Westin at Marina Village. Turning out to be a pretty decent evening here across the area. We had some storms that moved through about an hour ago. They're beginning to push offshore, and I think we're pretty much done with the rain here for this evening. Still down into Collier County, we're tracking some heavier storms, and those should be gone here in the next several minutes. Storm Shield for Doppler, tracking those storms right now, and you can see that they're quite heavy, pushing offshore now, but you can see that we do still have some areas of rain inland across parts of Charlotte County, around looks like the El Jabin and Murdoch area. These are going to be tracking south and westward towards Rotunda. Inglewood getting some rain now. Also Northport pushing away from coastal Lee County, but you can see it's still raining across Captiva and Sanibel, and also down into Collier County. You can see these storms here that continue to make their way offshore, but they're still hanging on here from Marco Island northward towards Naples. So some pretty decent downpours here about to push back off into the Gulf. But again, here across Lee County, things are drying out. So the Cape looking dry, Fort Myers looking dry, and we expect that trend to continue here through the evening. Temperatures into the low to mid 80s where it's been raining, but take a look at Everglades City, still at 93 degrees, and it feels like 104. The heat index values this afternoon, we're in that 100 to 106 degree range here through the afternoon. So another stuffy day. We expect more of the same again here for tomorrow, as we're expecting those chances for showers and storms here to gradually wrap up here for this evening. Mostly cloudy skies overnight tonight. Very humid. Overnight lows in the upper 70s to around 80, and we'll be back around 90 tomorrow with chances for showers and storms during the afternoon and evening. Here's a look at Dorian. These are the last few frames before the sun goes down, and you can clearly see the thunderstorms that are popping up. These little pimple-looking things, those are the tops of the storms that are punching up over the overall central dense overcast. A couple of features I want to point out to you. There's an upper level low pressure system that was giving this thing some shear yesterday. Not so much today. It looks a little bit more improved as the upper low continues to back away from the area. But what it's also doing is another feature that I like to look at on water vapor called a rooster tail. This is kind of my name for it. And what you're seeing is how these clouds are being pulled up in this general direction. A really good indicator of when a storm is being influenced by an upper level trough or it's being picked up by something is when you start seeing these clouds getting pulled a little bit longer in one general direction. So they're being pulled in this direction as a result of the upper level low. So what I think is going to happen is the storm is going to try to turn around this upper level low and kind of follow it as it goes off towards the west. And I think that, if combined with the upper level ridge that's going to be building over the top of it, is what's going to help with that westerly turn. For 5 o'clock advisory, not a whole lot of changes. Still expected to make landfall as a Cat 3, Cat 4 hurricane by the time we head towards Monday, but the speed slowing down considerably. And if you were to believe one of the models, the European model, the latest run has this thing not really getting close to the area until Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. So we do expect the steering currents to gradually collapse and slow down and cause the system to eventually just kind of meander around before it gets influenced by an upper level trough here that'll eventually pull it off towards the north. But you can see the computer model forecast tracks take it towards the Bahamas here by later in the weekend and early next week. Still focused on the Treasure Coast and the Space Coast here. So places like Jupiter, down to Port St. Lucie, all the way up towards Cape Canaveral. And if we get a track just like this, what will we see here in Southwest Florida? Well, it depends on how wide the storm ends up getting. If it stays as small as it is right now, only a very concentrated area, you're going to really see any significant winds. But the farther north and east you are, based on this track, is where you'll see the strongest winds. So places like Arcadia, places like Sebring, down towards Glades County, and perhaps into Hendry County, we'll see the strongest winds out of this if it, in fact, makes this track. But you can see the track goes all the way up towards the north here, into North Florida and into Georgia, and with it slowing down, flooding and a prolonged period of damaging winds and coastal flooding, and potentially also storm surge for the Florida East Coast if that ends up happening. Now, based on that track, now this is going to change a million times between now and early next week. I will guarantee you that. But this kind of gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. This is the probability of seeing tropical storm force winds 40 miles an hour or above, and the darker colors indicate the higher chances. Notice places like Moorhaven, Clewiston, Arcadia have that higher chance than everybody else to the south and west. This is assuming that the storm does not expand much more than it is right now. If the storm ends up getting bigger, or if the track ends up a little bit farther towards the south, of course, this is going to change altogether. But based on the current track and the size, the strongest winds would stay, of course, close to that. And then we're looking at, again, tropical storm force winds for a good portion of the area, particularly up into those areas there to the north and east closest to Lake Okeechobee. A lot is going to change between now now, in this weekend, and in the next week. Just keep it tuned back here. We'll keep you updated as we get more data in. And, of course, we'll give it to you straight. No hype here at Fox 4. So here's a look at your forecast as we go throughout the morning hours tomorrow. We'll be dry, but you better believe we're going to see more storms here for tomorrow afternoon. Could affect some of those Friday night football games, at least through the first part of it. But we expect them to go away. And then for Saturday, not really a bad day. Storms during the afternoon, so really not much different from what we're seeing today. 78 here for tonight, partly cloudy once the storms move out. Tomorrow, 91. Showers and storms second half of the day. East winds 5 to 10. Here's your 7-day forecast. Chances for rain second half of the day on Saturday. And then we're going to be watching Dorian. That's going to affect our weather for Sunday and the Labor Day, turning a little breezy as the storm gets closer. And, of course, that forecaster will be adjusted based on what Dorian does.